Welcome back to the West GTS Garage. Today we're going to be doing something slightly different than the project bike. We're going to be looking at the Tiger 955. Basically the issue is with this, I believe, it won't start. So we're going to go through that process of diagnosing what the issue is. So basically when you just start her up, all the lights come on, which shows it's fine. And then when you press the start button, you just get this click, and that can be for a number of reasons. And today we're going to go through the process of identifying the starter process and check each component in that chain. So let me just show you what I'm getting and the noise it's making, and then it'll make more sense to you. You get all the lights come up and you'll hear the whirring of the fuel pump. Hold your clutch in and okay, so the first thing to check is with the battery. So the first thing we're going to do is move the multimeter to volts and 20. So that's there, and then we are going to connect the red wire and the black wire to the terminals and make a reading. And it should be 1251, which is fine, that's not a problem at all. So that basically checks that the battery's okay. Okay guys, the next step is to actually remove the battery box or the battery tray to get access to the starter relay or solenoid underneath. So to do this, all we need to do is take a 4mm Allen key and take that bolt, remove the battery first, take that bolt, and the bolt at the bottom, and then we can remove that, and I'll show you once we come back. Now I've tried a number of methods by disconnecting the battery and not having the alarm activate, but every time I do it does. So what I try to do is just take the battery out and just go outside and let it ring for 2 rings and it goes. So you just remove the 2 bolts, loosen those up here. And it's the bottom one. Now for the bottom you are going to need an extension because there's no way you're going to do it without it. So you're just going to need an extension to get it in there. And again, it's the 4. So before taking the battery box out, if you lift it up slightly, you'll gain more access to it. There is a fuse box on the left hand side, so where my finger is now, and that is the main fuse. It's a 30 amp fuse. So what you're going to have to do is disconnect that before you pull the battery box all the way out. The best way of doing that is you just pull on the clip. There is a clip on the side. You just pull away from the case, so you just pull away from the case and then drop out, and there is your the fuse. Okay guys, with the battery box removed, you can now access the coil. Now the coil is just housed by a kind of rubber cup holder, if you will, so all you need to do is push from the bottom. Now be careful because this wire here is hooked underneath that stanchion there, so if you bring that out, be careful not to snag, but bring that to the other side like so. You should be able to then just pop the actual unit out. So now with this removed, what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the live from the earth. So this is for the live feed, so this one comes from the battery and goes into the starter solenoid and then comes through and then it goes on to the earth. So what we're going to do is remove both of these. We're going to measure from this clip and this clip. We're going to measure the volts that go across it. That's 1. Break it. There you go. 2. The rest I'll do by hand. So that's 1. That's the positive removed. That's the second one removed. Okay. Okay, with the positive and the negative now removed, and we're going to leave the two wires. Now these two wires here that you can see here are to the starter, so to the ignition switch. So when we click the ignition switch, this says 12 volts to those, and we should be able to read a current. Now before we're able to measure the resistance between the 2 points, we are going to have to reconnect the battery. Now obviously, because of the fantastic design of Triumph, the battery goes in exactly where we're trying to work, so we're going to have to hook up another power source. So if you put the battery to the back of the bike and then get yourself a pair of jump leads, we'll just put the positive to the positive, negative to the negative, and it's a remote battery. We will then be able to switch the ignition on and give the ignition, and then we can measure the resistance between the two. In the open position, so without the ignition, we should be reading a 1 on your multimeter, and then when we connect it and fire the ignition, that turns into a 0. And again, perfect. For this test, I'm going to take the negative, apply it to the negative side of the battery, and I'm going to apply it to the rear disc brake, as that is exposed metal. The second one, I'm going to take the positive, and I'm going to connect it to the top of the starter motor. And then I'm going to take the live, and I'm going to touch the positive on the battery. Now, absolutely dead. Then you just change the ground point. Nothing.